Are you needing something to fidget with?
Yes.
Okay, here. You need
This is what I give my kids when I'm teaching.
Okay, got it.
My fidgeters in my room.
Melanie needs a fidget item. Today, we're going to talk about one of our many Colorado adventures that we've had over the course of our marriage, because Melanie and I love visiting Colorado. It is a cool state with beautiful views and a lot of fun memories for the both of us. But today we're going to be talking about a trip that we went on that took us up to the Continental Divide. Mm-hmm. Why don't you kick us off and tell the lovely YouTube viewers the beginning of this journey?
Let me just say, my husband lived in this particular part of Colorado for a year and hiked these trails all the time. So he apparently chose an easy trail. And he's like, it's only gonna take like what? An hour, 2 hours?
Something like that.
Very, just like, it's super simple, super easy. We'll backpack, we'll set up a camp. And y'all, that is not how this whole situation played out. Number one, I was looking at the map and I kept telling him, I was like, it says for level of difficulty that this is like intermediate. It was a bit much.
It had been like 2 or 3 years, so I was a little rusty on my wilderness memory.
Needless to say, with our big hiking backpacks on, all of our gear, we're toting. I'm pretty sure we were toting your tripod too.
Of course. Gotta get those photos.
5 hours later, we get to our spot where we can set up our tents, and we do that. We do that before dark. He puts up the bear bag. To give you an idea of how far up the mountain we were above tree line.
We were right on the edge. In hindsight, maybe it wasn't the best place to camp that early.
Not the best place to camp.
Just because we obviously weren't fully acclimated. After getting our camp set up and getting in the tent, getting all hunkered down, it started to rain pretty bad, but we had the rain fly on and we were all good. We ate some leftover Chinese food because that's how we roll.
And let's just go ahead and clarify, this was cold Chinese food.
It was cold.
Which wasn't great, because at the time, we could not start fires because they were having a big forest fire problem, so we were not allowed to start any fires.
There's a burn ban,
which
just made it difficult. It was a concoction of unfortunate events, and we did have snacks like granola bars and Clif bars and all that jazz.
We're not total noobs.
But we were looking for something a little more because it was dinner time, and so that's what we had. Maybe that contributed to the chaos that ensued later, but I'm not sure.
Look how good I'm doing on this yellow side.
Good job, babe. I'm proud of you.
That is over halfway there.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you.
I'm so proud of you.
So the sun goes down.
The sun goes down, yes.
And then why don't you say what happened once the sun set?
I didn't even get the most comfortable bedding because I got this thing that felt like a grill. Felt like I was cooking on it.
It was a thermal mat.
Okay, it was horrible.
Fair enough.
And then he got this squishy thing.
Whoa!
No, you got a squishy thing.
I offered that to you so many times and you kept being like, no.
I didn't want to be rude.
Rude! You're my wife. I would have given it up immediately. I tried to give it to you and you were like, no, this is the thermal mat I'm going to have.
You have some moderate back problems.
What?
I wanted to be nice to my husband, but at the same time, I was really angry that he had the squishy mat.
I wanted you to have it and you wouldn't take it. Like every time I tried to slip it underneath, you got upset with me. So finally I gave up. I was like, okay, she's stubborn. You can use the thermal mat.
I am very stubborn.
You are
very stubborn. So I used the thermal mat, and then we started to realize that, hey, we aren't really on flatland. Shocker, we were going up to the Continental Divide, so we weren't really on flatland, but there were also a bunch of holes in the ground from, I believe, creature holes.
It was very uncomfortable.
Creature holes in the ground.
We were sliding down to the edge of our tent, and there were holes, and it was bumpy. And I realized that because I was so exhausted when we set up camp initially, and I was just ready to because the rain was coming in, I wanted to hurry up and get things set up. I was hungry, so we rushed it. Anyone that does camping and or backpacking knows that you need to, check it out. Because sometimes when you get in the tent, you realize something that you didn't realize when you just looked at it.
Sometimes there's better plots of land out there.
Exactly. So it was the middle of the night and it was pitch black outside, relatively cold, not freezing or anything, but I jump out there and I'm basically losing my mind because I had the worst headache I have ever had in my life. It was excruciatingly painful. And I know it was because of the altitude, because that happens. But in the chaos of the situation, I told Melanie to jump out of the tent, and she did. And then I yanked the tent just a couple yards to a different spot that felt a little bit better. Would you say I was in good spirits? No, I was just frustrated enough to actually consider walking down the mountain.
Which would have been the dumbest idea.
The worst idea ever.
Because it is like at least 10 o'clock or so at
It's
night.
pitch black.
Pitch black outside. We're in the middle of the Colorado wilderness.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of little night creatures out.
Night creatures.
I mean,
They're out there.
that's the most dangerous kind of creature.
They're out there.
Okay, they're out there. They're stalking their prey.
Yes.
Okay?
This is true.
We would have been the prey.
Fair enough. My head was hurting so bad that I was like, forget the tent, forget the bags, we'll come back tomorrow. Let's just walk down.
That was your plan. To leave the tent,
I was desperate.
go get eaten by a bear.
I wanted
down
Advil.
the trail.
I thought if I could get down, get to the car, and drive to Gunnison, which for the record is basically an hour and 45 minutes
That would
away,
have made no sense.
I could get Advil.
Like,
And the best part is, or the funniest part is, I don't even think that Walmart was 24/7. So there's
I don't
a good
think it was
chance
24/7.
if I had somehow done that, I would have still probably ended up sitting in a Walmart parking lot until they opened, which would have been the dumbest thing ever. Finally, I got my cell phone, and somehow there was enough juice in it for me to turn on the Lumineers and just have it play right here really gently. And
shout out to the Lumineers.
Shout out to the Lumineers for
Y'all helped us sleep
helping me fall asleep on the mountain.
side of a mountain in Colorado. So.
And so that helped me fall asleep. Now, naturally, when I woke up in the morning, my phone had barely any juice whatsoever. From our tent, we had a view of this ridgeline that we really wanted to go up to because it was a beautiful view of the valley. We got pictures from the top.
Yeah, and there's one in particular with this fly on my back that you didn't tell me was there. And I'm a little upset about it. What is happening outside right now?
I don't know. It is like...
there like demolition going on?
It's like 11 at night and there's a bunch of vehicles driving around. It's a FedEx
It's a FedEx truck.
How do you know it's a FedEx truck?
Because the thing went away and it says FedEx on the back of it.
That's the weirdest thing.
That's stuff the mob does.
This video is just all over the place.
You know what? I feel like this is why we need to have like a talk show or
Or
a podcast.
Yeah, podcast. Where were we? I don't even remember where we were.
So we were going down the mountain.
We got down.
We got down.
We made it down in
safely.
one piece.
We got down very quickly. It only took us like 2 hours to get
Yeah,
down.
the descent
we were
was
booking it.
the descent was quite a bit faster than the
'Cause
ascent.
Mama needed a nap.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we made it
Get
back
into
to Lake City.
town, we take a shower. We eat some pizza. It was great.
It was awesome.
It was great. And then the next day, we were gonna go up Uncompahgre.
We rented a Razor, a 4-wheel drive vehicle. We took it up this Jeep trail that goes to the trailhead for Uncompahgre because we didn't want to have to hike the Jeep trail. It's pretty long and windy, and we just didn't think that would be a lot of fun, especially on our way down. So when we started hiking, the sun was coming up and it was nice and cool. And the first 2 miles, maybe 2.5 miles, it's not that bad. It's relatively flat. There's a slight uptick, but it's nothing crazy. The whole thing is just shy of 4 miles, give or take. And the last little stretch on the journey up Uncompahgre is this pretty wild talus slope that is definitely very steep.
It was a little tricky,
it was
especially after the talus slope, because then there were like steeper like drop-offs from the trail, and you were having to like kind of shuffle around these boulders and stuff. You know what I don't like? I don't like seeing the people climb the mountains with flip-flops on.
Okay.
That freaks me out. Like, where are your shoes?
Apropos of nothing.
No. I mean, at least have Chacos on.
The top of Uncompahgre is one of my favorite views of all time. I really enjoy it and find it to be absolutely
Like
gorgeous.
you're actually king of the world.
And
Not like Leo. You know, not like, you know what I mean?
Titanic reference for the win. After we got the pictures, after we enjoyed the view, we began to go down. And after heading down, it didn't take very long for bad weather to start brewing in the distance, which is not uncommon for that time of the
It
day.
happens all the time. I feel like we cannot make it down
A mountain
anything
without bad weather hitting
without
us.
being hailed on.
We have a pretty bad
Ever.
record. So we're racing to get down as fast as possible.
Ridiculous.
But in the back of my head, I knew we were gonna get slammed with whatever was heading our way. But we got down the Talus Slope in one piece. And I'll be the first to say this. Going down is way harder than going up. It's very steep, and
it was a bit of a challenge to get down. And I'm trying to book it down because in my mind, before the storm started, before the hail started, in my brain, I'm like, I am not going to be hailed on again.
we got to the Razor finally after making
was
our way through
a
hail. We were
beautiful
soaked.
sight.
It was a beautiful sight.
We were cold and wet, which is never a good place to be.
And immediately it started a torrential downpour of sleet and hail and ice and just all this craziness raining down on us.
Our windshield started to freeze over.
It started
on
to
the
freeze
Razor.
over relatively quickly. So we're going
I've
down.
never, as a Texas girl, I have never in my life
It's
seen
quite
a
experience.
windshield freeze over like that.
As the window froze over, I leaned out the left, Melanie leaned out the right, and we were communicating back and forth where the road was turning. And this thing was really windy, and because it was raining and sleeting so bad, I had my ball cap on, thankfully, so it wasn't hitting me in the face too bad. But there was a lot of mud getting kicked up, and there was a lot of cliffs. Like
Lots of
we were
cliffs.
driving on this trail, and there was this pretty steep cliff,
Yes.
not far from the road itself. So it was definitely a little nerve-wracking. Like, I sure hope we don't hydroplane or anything like that. Thankfully, I'm such a pro when it comes to driving four-wheel
Yeah.
drive vehicles. Nothing like that happened. Cause boss mode.
How do we end this, PJ? Where we go here?
We survived, so go us. We got to eat at a nice restaurant after we got down because we wanted to celebrate our accomplishment.
We did choose the cheapest menu item at this restaurant.
We did
We
go-
did not realize how just the level of niceness.
We didn't realize how nice it
how
was.
lavish this
So
place
we
was
went in there,
when we went in there.
and
You know.
the cheapest thing on the menu was the fettuccine
Fettuccine
Alfredo.
Alfredo.
But I will say this, it was probably the best
it
fettuccine
was
Alfredo I've
great.
ever had.
It was great. So no regrets on that choice, but it was like everything else was definitely out of reach
It just cracks me up though
for our
because
price range.
we went in there and the lady was being super nice.
Oh my gosh,
She
she's so
offered us
sweet.
like a bottle of wine and we're like, no thank you.
No, thank you.
And
Can't
then,
spend the money.
And then she told us about like all the different steaks and then the fish. And then we were like, we'll take 2 fettuccine Alfredos.
You
And
know what?
she was
But what
like,
I
"Oh."
noticed is we were not the only people doing that because I heard several of the other tables. We were eating fettuccine. They should have just been in an Italian restaurant because there
Just
were
have
so
fettuccine
many
Alfredo.
fettuccine Alfredo plates out because everybody was like cheap.
One day I want to go back and I want to get the steak dinner because at that time could not afford it. But now I want to go back to that restaurant and order that steak dinner or maybe the fish. Both sounded really good. And now I'm like super hungry and it's like
Me too.
past 11 and I'm starving.
Oh my gosh, I'm so hungry.
Oh my goodness, why does this always happen, babe?
know.
It's always the middle of the night and I'm starving. That's what I get for just eating spinach leaves for dinner.
I'm loving this color, man.
It's pretty awesome.
I don't
You
know
definitely
if it was
look
worth
good.
the time, but it was.
It looks legit.